Welcome to Let's Play Football, part of the Let's Play Sports Network. Let's Play Football is the state of Minnesota's go-to guide for everything from Pop Warner to the pros, youth, high school, college, and of course, the Minnesota Vikings. We cover it all. Let's Play Football is brought to you by Carboni's Pizza. Find your nearest location at www.carbonis.com. This is Let's Play Football.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Let's Play Football's weekly podcast. I am Tim McNiff, and today we're going to be recapping an exciting Week 3 of high school football while looking ahead to Week 4, which, can you believe it or not, is going to be the halfway point of the high school regular season, that as the top teams are beginning to identify themselves. Now, each week, Let's Play Football polls high school coaches on who those top teams are and compile the coaches poll onto our weekly rankings. So let's get started with where the teams are in each class as we head into Week 4, beginning with 9-man football. Now, in the past 2.5 seasons, Hancock has lost just one game, going a collective 23-1 in that span. Their only loss coming to Mountain Lake area in the 2019 Prep Bowl. After a 7-0 season and last year's COVID-shortened campaign, Hancock is off to a 3-0 start where they're averaging just under 45 points per game. The Owls are in the number 1 spot in the 9-man rankings for the third week running, but they have to face the top 10 team in Wheaton, Herman, Norcross on Friday. The Warriors are also 3-0 and are averaging 54 points per game on offense. Expect this game to be a shootout as the Warriors try to knock off the Owls out of that top spot and move up the ladder themselves. So the 9-man rankings are as follows. Heading into Week 4, number 1, Hancock at 3-0, followed by Mountain Iron Buell, Verndale, Hills Beaver Creek, Lanesboro, Leroy Ostrander in at number 6 despite a 2-1 record. Fertile Beltrami is at 3-0, Mountain Lake 3-0, Wheaton, Herman, Norcross, who we discussed, also unbeaten, as is NCEUH at 3-0. Now in Class A football, Minneota still holds that top spot with a 61-0 blowout of Lockheed Pearl Valley. The Vikings, much like Hancock, have a powerful offense to go with a stingy defense. That has made it difficult for opponents on both sides of the ball. So far, they are outscoring their opponents by an average of 46-2. But the Class A field is filled with several quality squads and is one of the more competitive, balanced classes in the state. In fact, all 10 teams are combined 30-0 on the season. Number 2, Mahnomen Waban will take on number 7, Ada Borup West in what will be the marquee matchup in Class A this Friday night. Minneota will have to defend their standing at the top against a very good Lakeview squad who debuts at number 10 in our rankings. So let's look at those Class A rankings if we might. 1 through 10 are as follows. Number 1, Minneota, 3-0. Mahnomen Waban, 3-0. Murray County Central, also perfect, as is Bold, Rushford Peterson, Dawson Boyd, Ada Borup West, Gibbon Fairfax Winthrop, Pine Valley Bacchus, and Lakeview, as we said, all 3-0. Blue Earth Valley maintains the top spot in Class 2A, while Redwood Valley and Eden Valley Watkins flip-flop the number 2 and 3 positions, with Redwood Valley making the move up. Blue Earth Valley has averaged 50 points per game while allowing just an average of 9. There are currently 13 undefeated teams in Class 2A. Pipestone area and Royalton sneak in at numbers 9 and 10 respectively. Others such as Osakis, Mesabi East, Rush City, and St. Agnes all knocking on the door. So here are our Class 2A rankings for the week. Number 1, Blue Earth Valley. 2 is Redwood Valley, Eden Valley Watkins, West Central area Ashby, Blooming Prairie. Minneapolis North at 2-1 comes in at number 6. Moose Lake Willow River is 3-0, followed by Kimball area, Pipestone area, and finally Royalton is number 10. Moving on now to Class 3A, where Cannon Falls continues their onslaught of their opponents. They're off to a 3-0 start, that after an unbeaten 2020 campaign. Cannon Falls' T offense continues to operate to a T and has wreaked havoc on defenses. Speaking of defense, well, the Bears squeaked by Rochester Lourdes in Week 2, 17-14, with a strong defensive effort, but the offense returned in a big way in Week 3 with a 57-21 win over Pine Island. This week, the Bears will take on Zumbrota Mazeppa. Of course, there is stiff competition in Class 3A with the likes of number 2 Litchfield, number 3 Pierce, who is a perennial power, and Dassel, Cokato, Fairmont, Waseca, and Annandale. Let's look at the standings. We just called it Cannon Falls, Litchfield, Pierce. Dilworth, Glendon, Felton is number 4. Dassel, Cokato, Fairmont, Waseca. Annandale is your 8 team at 2-1. Lake City and Breck round out the top 10 in Class 3A. Now, the big matchup of the week comes in Class 4A, where top-ranked Hutchinson, they don't rebuild, they reload, will take on number 2 Becker at Becker this Friday. When next week's rankings comes out, one of those two teams will obviously hold the top spot. Becker, they've got to stop Hutch's massive ground attack. They have not one but 2 backs who are averaging, get this, more than 9 yards per carry. Junior Levi Tietzel has carried the football 38 times for 358 yards and 4 touchdowns, while fellow back senior Mitchell Peel has rushed 30 times for 326 yards and 4 scores. Shutting one or both of those players down will be the key for Becker on Friday night. Becker, meanwhile, just might have the run defense to thwart Hutch's ground attack, as they have stifled opponents' running games in each of their 3 wins so far this season. Offensively, Becker has a dual approach. They can beat teams through the air and on the ground. Junior quarterback Ryan Bankston has only thrown the ball 21 times, but get this, he's completed 15 of them for 220 yards, and 3 of those passes are touchdowns, all going to different receivers. The depth is also seen in the backfield, as 8 different running backs have carried the ball multiple times on the season, with senior 230-pounder Carter Callahan the go-to, as he has bulldozed his way to 5 touchdowns so far on the season. Football fans, you do not want to miss this matchup. Let's take a look at the rest of the Class 4A standings. Right now, it's Hutch 1, Becker 2. Will it be that way next week? Time will tell. Stewartville is number 3, Casson Manorville with 1 loss in the season. At number 4, SMB is 5, Fridley 6, Ricori 3-1 and at 7, Wilmer 2-1 at 8, Mount West Tonka is perfect at number 9, as is North Branch at number 10. In Class 5A, Mankato West made a giant leap from number 4 in our rankings all the way to the top spot. Nothing against Moorhead, who is still 2-0, but it appears at this point Mankato West is the team to beat in 5A football, and that's thanks in large part to the play of senior quarterback Xander Dittbenner. Dittbenner has been a part of 13 touchdowns through the first 3 games, 11 of them through the air and 2 rushing. In all, he has thrown for 410 yards and rushed for another 141 yards and 2 TDs. The Scarlets also have Walker Britz, who's averaged almost 8 yards per carry this season and has added 3 touchdowns. Defensively, West has allowed just 1 touchdown, and they're coming off a 42-0 shutout over Owatonna. Moorhead dropped to number 4 despite beating Brainerd 28-18 on September 10th. Now, the Spuds had the week off last week. They'll battle Alex this week in what should be a great matchup. Andover comes in at number 2. St. Thomas Academy, coming off a big win over Cretin, they're at number 3. Chaska jumps all the way up to number 5. Rochester Mayo and Sauk Rapids Rice both sneak into the top 10 this week. Here's a look at it from 1 to 10. Mankato West, Andover, St. Thomas Academy, Moorhead is 4, Chaska's 5, Matamidi 6, Elk River 7, Mayo 8, Sauk Rapids Rice 9, and Spring Lake Park with 1 loss is your number 10 team at Class 5A. Well, just like there was a number 1 versus number 2 matchup in Class 4A this week, there was a 1 versus 2 matchup in Class 6A last week. We're the powerhouse, the king, Eden Prairie, taking on Lakeville South. What looked on paper to be a close contest was not. The Cougars from Lakeville South, removing any doubts about who is the better team, at least at this point in the season, posting a convincing 42-7 win over Eden Prairie. How often has that happened? Lakeville South, they shut down EP's offense. The only touchdown they allowed was in the second quarter on a kickoff return by Eden Prairie's Logan Garys. Meanwhile, EP couldn't stop Lakeville's Carson Hansen, who rushed for 202 yards on just 16 carries and scored 3 touchdowns. The win puts the Cougars in the top spot this week in our rankings. Chances are these 2 teams may meet again somewhere down the road. Other teams to watch in Class 6A, well, it's a list of the usual suspects. Check out the names: Maple Grove, Shakopee, Wayzata, Rosemount, among others. Here it is, 1 to 10, starting with the undefeated. Lakeville South at 3-0, as is number 2 Maple Grove, number 3 Shakopee, number 4 Wayzata, number 5 Rosemount. Eden Prairie goes from 1 to 6 at 2-1. St. Michael Albertville, they fall to Wayzata last week. They dropped to 7 at 2-1. Stillwater making a move up from the east side, up at 3-0. Prior Lake is 2-1, and Minnetonka, who was beaten last week by Maple Grove, also drops to 10 at 2-1. Well, there you have it. There is our Week 3 Let's Play Football rankings and our Week 3 rundown as we head into Week 4. But before we go, we want to feature an outstanding player in our great state of football. This week we feature Holy Angels running back Emmett Johnson. Emmett Johnson is the current leader in carries, yards, and touchdowns going into Week 4. In his first 3 contests, the 6'3", 183-pound back has 95 carries for 705 yards and 10 touchdowns. In his previous game against South St. Paul, Johnson averaged 9.5 yards a carry with a total of, ready for this, 360 yards and 5 touchdowns. Johnson talked about the South St. Paul game, saying, "I feel like what took over in the last South St. Paul game was my trust in the O-line and their trust in me. We had a great week of practice, and I feel like that is where we outworked our opponent." Johnson runs a 4.48 40-yard dash and has a 38-inch vertical. He's a shifty back that gets out of impossible situations, leaving opponents and fans alike in a state of shock. His vision and his instinct to hit holes and make cuts separates him from other backs in the state. Not only is he fast, he's also strong and doesn't go down on the first hit from the first defender. His strength also carries over to defense, where he is a cornerback who likes to hit and hit hard, get fired up after each hit that he delivers. Offensively, Johnson finding the end zone is nothing new. Last season, Emmett rushed for 1,151 yards and scored 12 touchdowns in just 7 games. In his sophomore year, he gained 1,062 yards and scored 9 touchdowns. And let's just say his goals are lofty. Listen to this. "My goal is to beat Adrian Peterson's senior year rushing record, which was 2,960 yards and 32 touchdowns. Adrian Peterson is my favorite running back of all time that I watched play as a kid." Despite the name Emmett, obviously too young to have watched Emmett Smith, right? Johnson finished at the top 8 in rushing yards in state last season and was selected to play in the Minnesota High School All-State team along with only 5 other running backs. He has Division I football offers from Western Kentucky, Central Michigan, Montana State University, South Dakota State University, University of North Dakota, University of South Dakota, Eastern Michigan, and Northern Iowa. Looking for the Gophers there somewhere, but I don't see it. PJ? Emmett Johnson. Look him up. All right, that's going to do it for today and this week. We appreciate you listening to our Let's Play Football podcast. You can find us on YouTube and our Twitter and Facebook pages. We also have a print magazine we distribute 8 times per season. You can find them at Vikings locker room stores and at various high school stadiums around the state. If you'd like a complimentary copy sent to you, just reach out to us at editor@letsplayfootballmn.com. Once again, that's editor@letsplayfootballmn.com. Thanks again. And don't forget to get out and support your local team on Friday night. And thank you for watching and listening to Let's Play Football. Let's go.
This has been Let's Play Football. Did you know there are more high school football players in Minnesota than participate in any other sport? When the Friday night lights are shining, we shine a light too on the top teams, top players, and all that is great about the game of football. Let's Play Football is brought to you by Carboni's Pizza. Find your nearest location at www.carbonis.com. Let's Play Football is part of the Let's Play Sports Network.